Residents of Lagos and Ogun State go to the polls today, Saturday, and they are expected to cast their ballots in polling units across local councils in the state to elect their local government chairmen and councillors for a fresh 4-year term. In Lagos State, the polls opened across the 20 local government areas and 37 local development areas of the state. Meanwhile, in Ogun State, 12 political parties will do the battle for council chairmanship or councillorship in the 236 wards in the 20 local government areas in the state. Ahead of the elections, restriction of movement was announced in both states and an additional 25,000 policemen were deployed in Lagos State to beef up security.
Hello, Ni.
Talking about Oyetunji, our correspondent on the mainland, overseeing the elections, local government elections. Can you give us a sense of what is happening where you are at the moment?
Yeah, Ni, thank you very much for joining us. We're here at Agege, right in the heart of the city. You see behind me, there is a blockade mounted by police operatives because of how volatile this environment is. Of course, there has not been any record of any incidents whatsoever since we got out on the street at about 7 a.m. monitoring this exercise. There is just a polling unit nearby here, but we decided to stay to show what exactly is going on here. There is police presence all over here. In fact, a police team on the show first just drove through this end to reassure the people, according to the leader of that team, that they are on ground to actually ensure that the exercise, the local government election that is going on this morning in this area where some people thought there might be some kind of incident because of the volatility of this environment, that they're on ground for them and people should go out there and exercise their franchise. So let's tell you about what we have seen so far today concerning the election. We've been to quite a number of the polling units. What we can tell you is that there is what we can describe as voter apathy, greeting this exercise, because we actually started out at a polling unit known as Ward F polling unit 047, where a large number of people, up to over 1,000 voters, are expected there. The exercise started there very late. We didn't see the Lassie officials until about 9:20, 9:25, when they came in and we interrogated why they were late. They said they were trying to sort out some of the materials and ensure that they had the right materials with them before they came. So when they came in there, the voters that were waiting for them actually got on the queue. Just about 10, 15 people got on the queue, and the first voter voted at about 10:01 a.m. exactly. Afterwards, a few more people were accredited and they voted. No issue with the card reader. Everything was smooth. Just a few meters away from that particular polling unit, there was another one known as the staff quarters polling unit within the Allow South vicinity there. The situation there was almost the same as as regards the time they started. They didn't start until about 10 a.m. because they said only one party agent was available, as at the time the LASEC officials were there. So they had to wait for the other party agents so that it won't look as if they had left out some parties out of this contest. So when we got there at about after 11 or so, only about 6 voters had come out to actually exercise their right out of about 1,005 voters that they were expecting at that polling unit. Driving around the city, it's the mainland here though, because we're in Agege. So from Ikeja down to Agege here, the situation is almost the same. You see LASEC officials with a few security guys with them, and near zero voter or potential voters at the polling units. That's the situation here. But so far, no incident so far. In all the places that we've checked, the machines, we didn't get any report that any of the machines had malfunctioned so far. So that's where we are as regards the exercise going on this morning.
All right then, Tokumbo, it's good that you've brought us up to speed regarding developments, but I was actually hoping to ask you regarding your assessment of how prepared the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission are in terms of handling today's elections. You talked about card readers, and you also mentioned earlier that some of them were late at some point at some of the polling units, but can you tell us in terms of the equipment and in terms of preparation, how prepared they were?
Wow, I didn't get that. The network is it's not friendly.
Yeah, so I was asking about the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission and how prepared they were in terms of handling today's polls.
Well, if I get you correctly, you're talking about how prepared the Electoral Commission is. Of course, yesterday we listened to the chairperson of the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission, in the person of retired Justice Ayotunde Phillips, who told us that they were ready for the exercise, told us that non-sensitive materials had been deployed, and that because of for security reasons, the sensitive materials were going to be deployed as early as 6-7 a.m. this morning, so that the exercise could commence by 8 a.m. But like I told you, in some of the places we have visited, the accreditation and voting didn't start until about 10 a.m. So that's some kind of a snag, you know, if you like to put it that way, in their preparation, contrary to what the chairman told us yesterday, how prepared they were. So, but you know, looking beyond that initial situation to where we are now, we can say probably we have moved beyond. Like I told you earlier, we have not had any report of any of those card readers malfunctioning, which means the chairman actually made reference to yesterday, that they were sure that all their materials, all their equipment will function properly. So far, what we have seen, the equipment are functioning properly, and I think the major issue really has been that of voter apathy, which was an issue raised with the chairperson yesterday, and she responded by saying they actually had carried out a whole lot of sensitization in conjunction with the political parties, but we can't see the result of that in what is going on here today, Tokumbo. So we'll be monitoring how. When we leave this place now, we'll still move around to see, you know, what is going on. Of course, we still have about 3 hours or so for the exercise to be concluded. So you may say it may be too early to actually conclude that everything has been smooth. But so far, what we have seen, apart from the delay in the commencement of the exercise, I think so far we can give Lassie some kind of pass mark.
All right, Tokumbo, I'd like to take you back to the issue of voter apathy. And of course, on the drive to the studio, I witnessed, folks playing football on the streets, as it were. So to that extent, do you think there was enough public enlightenment? I'm not talking about Lassie now, but public enlightenment on the part of the parties themselves and, of course, the government regarding these polls?
I lost you. I just got a few words
yes,
of your
we seem to be having
sentence.
some. Yeah, okay, I'll just be brief on that. So do you think there was enough public enlightenment on the part of the Lagos State government itself to synthesize the public to go to the polls?
I still can't hear you, if you can hear me. Okay, I guess what you're talking about is the participation, how aware the public was and is still is about this whole exercise. I guess that is a very a sore point in this whole thing. You can say that in the build-up to this whole election today, there was not much known, about it, especially as regards members of the public. We can say that political parties, of course, knew, and the agencies involved, Lassie, the security agencies and the rest of them, probably they were aware. But talking about members of the public, I was watching a report yesterday where, like an opinion poll where no, I mean, sampling the people's opinion on the streets, asking them about how much they were aware of this exercise today. The response from majority of the people was they were not aware, and even some of them who said they were aware said they were not going to actually participate in this. Whatever is responsible for that, we may not be able to tell exactly, but maybe we can guess that it's because people don't actually feel, the presence of this level of governance, which is supposed to be the closest to them, really. That's the most ironic part of it. Local government is supposed to be the closest to the people, that people relate with the most. But if you move around yourself, in your neighborhoods, all around the city, it's a very popular belief that the local government has not been functioning the way it should. Maybe that's a reason why majority of people who are supposed to participate in this and elect their representatives at that level of government are not actually coming out to participate in the process. Maybe some other reasons are responsible. Let's look at these too. Voter apathy has been a key issue in Nigeria, that all the parties that are involved should actually do something about. You remember the last general election in Lagos. Lagos has over 6 million voters. The election that brought in the last governor in this state, that's Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. The number of accredited voters in that election was just about 1,005,000 voters or so, if just slightly above 1 million. So what that percentage is to the 6 million registered voters. So voter apathy really has always been a key issue that needs to be addressed. And like I said earlier, when the chairman of the Electoral Commission was confronted with that question by some journalists yesterday, what she said was they collaborated with the parties, because constitutionally it's the duty of the parties to actually sensitize and make the people, their supporters, their followers, and even the voters that are undecided aware that an election like this is going to take place, and they will seek for their votes, they will beg them for their votes. But I'm not sure we saw much of that in the build-up to this exercise today. So really, moving on from here, it's an issue that has to be dealt with.
An issue indeed. Tokunbo Yetunji, correspondent in Agege suburb of Lagos, I would like to thank you very much for the update. And of course, we've still got 2.5 hours to go in these elections, but would like you to stay on the scenario there, and we'll cross live to Arise Us. Correspondent Oba Adeoye, who is also monitoring the election from the Lagos Island. Hello, Oba. Now, can you bring us up to speed with events from where you are?
Yes, I'm presently at Orile Agege here in Lagos, and this location is Saka Tinubu Memorial High School in Orile Agege.
Very good.
So far, what we have seen so far is that there's a poor turnout of voters across the areas that we have covered, both on the island and here on the mainland.
Okay, Oba, can you sort of give us any idea regarding your observations? Have you witnessed any violence, volatility, any acts of malpractice whatsoever? And have you actually spoken to anyone that has voted so far?
Yes, the election is relatively peaceful, maybe because people are not coming out to vote. I've visited quite a number of places in different local government, and I've spoken with some of the voters too. In some places, you hardly have up to 15 people voting. In this place, for an instance, people have voted. We can see some ballots in those boxes there, but they are still waiting for people to come out to. They are still waiting for people to come out to vote, and you can see the electoral officials are waiting patiently for people to come out to vote. But a lot of people are not really coming out. We saw some, youth playing soccer, taking the opportunity to play football instead of participating in the exercise.
Indeed, Oba Adeoye, but I'd like you to hold your thoughts. We'll come back right to you, and we have a clip of Governor Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State also casting his ballot.
Expected, and there could be a few delays in terms of the officers coming up, like we had even here. But we thank God that at least they are here, right? And they've started work. And I'm just hoping that what we've seen here at this polling unit is what we will see, at other polling units. People will come out, and freely express themselves, in this local government chairman and councillor, election for Lagos State. So we're expecting that everything will go well, smooth, free and fair to all eligible voters. This is the beauty of democracy. So we'll continue to ensure, and you have that responsibility, we'll continue to ensure and express that, everything we talk about as people, as citizens, this is about the only time where we can express ourselves freely and openly. And so all around not having the required percentage, it's a reflection of the encouragement and advocacy that we all need to continue to express to our citizens. All the infrastructure have been provided, all the logistics have been provided. It's really just for our citizens to come up and express themselves. So it's a work in progress, but that's the beauty of democracy. It's a work in progress. And for some other countries that will follow, right, they've been on it for 200 years, right? And you will see that there's never an election where you have 100%. There's never anyone you have 50%. But you continue to improve on the advocacy, and everybody has a role to play. You are an important stakeholder as we on this other side. So this is also another clarion call for people to come out, and express themselves. What you've seen here is a reflection of what happens or what is happening in all of our local governments, right? Like you observed 2 years ago, this particular route that Chief Jackman was not like this, and now it is. And we're doing the same thing in almost all parts of our local governments, other places in Ikoyi, in VI, and I believe that the whole idea around governance is to improve and make life better for our citizens, and I'm sure that's what we're about. And it's impressive that you can notice it, but thank you very much for those comments. I don't live here any longer, but I still keep my polling units here.
All right, so that was Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu talking about the polls, which is currently on. We've still got roughly a little over 2 hours to go. We've been talking to our reporters on the scenes, and they've been giving us updates with regards to the scenarios. And of course, the main issue that is coming up is the issue of voter apathy. We asked our correspondent Tokunbo Yetunji earlier, and probably on the issue of public acceptance of local governance and how impactful it has been over time. Perhaps that could also have a reason to why we're having a slow response to these polls so far as we can see. And of course, the governor, as we've shown in the clip, was talking about the political process, which is, as he terms, a work in progress. We can't have a 100% scenario every now and then. But when it comes to local government elections, the issue of voter apathy is recurring.
It is recurring, and I think we have this on a regular basis every time, especially with regards to the local council development areas and the councilorships as well. But it's a different kettle of fish when we have the other types of voting take place. But when it comes to Lagos Council elections and the councillorship, we have voter apathy, and there's been quite a number of incidents that probably has led to that. But let's see if we can get back to one of our correspondents on ground at the moment. Let's bring back Oba Adoye. Oba, good to have you join us, and good to have you hold on for us. I was asking earlier if you had a chance to speak to, or can we hear from one of the voters present at your polling unit?
Yes, I spoke to a couple of voters, and the responses are almost the same. They had no issue casting their ballot at all. After all, there's no crowd of people for the election management officials to manage. So you come to the polling unit in less than 15 minutes or so, you are done casting your ballot, and that's because a lot of people are not coming out. And asking them further, they told us that people, maybe their neighbors or friends, are telling them that they have no trust in the process at all. But they are just trying to come out to, fulfill all forms of righteousness and play their own part. And with what I've seen so far and what they told me, they believe so much in the process and expect that something will come out of it. Of course, it may not come with that huge vote at the end of the day, but something tangible will come out of it at the end of the day.
All right, Oba, if we go back in retrospect, I'd like your thoughts on this. There were court injunctions trying to stop this election from going ahead by some aggrieved party members, but that was thwarted, and the court nullified whatever grievances there were, and of course we are where we are today. So can you reflect on that and give us your thoughts on that?
Okay, if I got that right, about 11 parties approached the court that today's election be postponed because they felt that they have not been treated fairly by the Lagos State Electoral Commission by removing their names from the ballot paper. But the court ruled yesterday that there is nothing of sort will happen. Today's election will go on as scheduled, that the case had been transferred to the Lagos State High Court, that the Lagos State High Court has more jurisdiction over the matter than them. But the aggrieved party insists that the matter had gone up to appeal court, and the appeal court had directed that the election management body should include their names on the ballot paper. But as it is, the election management body, that's Lassie, did not include their names or their logos on the ballot paper. So the case is still in court. You know how the judiciary works. The case is still in court. Maybe when the hearing resumes, the matter may take a different form. We'll keep our fingers crossed and we'll be following it.
All right then, Oba, earlier on we spoke to our other correspondent, also in Agege there. He said that the polling unit, did not start until about later, not at the 8 a.m. that they were supposed to start. What are your own observations regarding when they started, where you are at the moment? Did they start on time? And how are proceedings in terms of how prepared Lassie are conducting these pollings today?
Yes, before getting to Orile Agege, where I am right now, I've also touched on some other local government in Lagos. I was at Obalende and some other local government before I got to where I am right now. And as at past 10, minutes past 10, the election materials have not even reached some of the polling units that I visited. When I got to Obalende, almost 10:30, I saw some buses, conveying the election materials to respective polling units. That was about 10:30 or thereabout. So the exercise did not start until around 11 in many places that I visited, although officially the exercise was supposed to start at exactly 8 a.m. But many voters came out only for them to meet empty tables, empty polling units. But for the for the polling officers, some of them have been on ground as early as 8 o'clock, just sitting down and expecting the election materials to come to them, which did not come until around 10:30, 11. And immediately the election materials came to them, the accreditation process started. People started coming out. You saw where the governor of the state voted earlier. In that place, I saw up to 30 people coming out also to vote before the governor came around to cast his vote. And immediately the governor left, we still left some people on the queue there who are, waiting to vote. Anyway, you may want to say because it's the governor's polling unit, and that's why people want to come out for the, for the photo shoot, so to say. But I've also seen in some places where 5, 6, 7 people at the time coming out to vote. Even in Obalende, I saw about I saw some polling units where we have as low as 3 people coming out to vote, as at the time we got there. I don't know of the situation right now. We'll still touch on some other places before we before the end of the exercise.
Indeed, Obadeoye would like you to stay on that story. We've still got a little over 2 hours to go while these polls last, local government elections in Lagos State and, of course, Ogun State as well. Obadeoye is speaking with us on the island, and, of course, he'll be giving us more updates as well with Tokunbo Oyetunji, who is at Agege suburb of Lagos at the moment. Tokunbo, we've said all that needs to be said regarding these elections, but to a large extent, it's still progressing peacefully, which is a plus.
It is a plus, and it's very key in this the voting process as well, because things can escalate at a moment's notice. But let's hope that doesn't turn up or eventually. But so far, very peaceful from what our reporters are saying on ground. Very peaceful, and from what we've seen as well, everything seems to be going smoothly. So that's a plus indeed.
Indeed.